Welcome to the B-Sides presentation, Append or Appendcols? That is the question. Hi, I'm Rich Galloway, and as you can tell from my cool hat, I'm a member of the Splunk Trust. I've been using Splunk since 2012, doing admin work, creating add-ons, and building dashboards. I joined the Splunk Trust in 2016 and became a Splunk consultant in 2017. You often can find me hanging out on Slack or in Splunk Answers. I've been using Splunk Answers pretty much since it started, and as of today anyway, am number 2 on the all-time karma list. And I have a non-Splunk life too, but I won't get into that. While participating on Splunk Answers, I've noticed a few trends among the questions. One of them is regarding the Appendcols command, which is what brings us together today. The append and appendcols commands are similar. Each adds the output of a subsearch to the existing result set, but does so in different ways, and they can't be interchanged. They're often confused, so we're here to learn some tips about using them. Let's begin with a simple example. Suppose we have a report that returns employee names and their work locations in a table that looks like this. Of course, in real life, we probably have many more results, but this is what fits on a slide. It's pretty good, but maybe we're asked to add city to where each work location is. Take this moment to say that I'm presenting the results in tabular format. That doesn't necessarily mean that Splunk uses that format internally. It's just a good way to conceptualize how results are produced. It also doesn't mean that append and appendcols only apply to table visualizations. They apply to many other visualization types as well. So let's say we have our work locations indexed, and a search of that index gives results that look like this. They show that headquarters is in Manhattan, the quarry is in Bedrock, and the warehouse is in Queens. Thumbing through the SPL manual, we find the appendcols command, which seems like the obvious choice since we want to append a new column to our existing table. So let's try that out. The appendcols command runs a subsearch and puts the results of that subsearch to the right, if you will, of the existing results. This gives us more new fields, or one or more new fields or columns. We've appended the column, hence the name of the command. It sounds a bit like the join command, but it's different, as we'll see shortly. If we use the appendcols command to add cities to our results, we get this table, which looks pretty good, right? We have 3 names, 3 columns, 3 locations, and 3 cities. Yes, in 3 columns. But on closer inspection, we see the results aren't quite right. The warehouse is in Queens, not Manhattan. Headquarters is not in Bedrock, and the quarry is not in Queens. But how did that happen? Simple. Each row from the appendcols command is added to the existing rows in the order that they appear. There's no matching done, even if fields have the same name. This is how appendcols differs from join. This becomes more apparent when we add another employee to the results. Here we see Barney R. also works in the quarry, which is correct in the results set, but only by chance. Results from the employees index and the locations index just happen to line up in that place. Notice, however, there's no value for the city field or Fred F's work location. That's because there are 4 employees, but only 3 cities. Let's take a look at another example. Here's a query similar to one in the search result reference manual. Returns a list of hosts from the internal index, along with a count of 404 errors found in our default indexes. In a glance, we would conclude that host 1 had 2 error 404s and the other host had none. So let's have a closer look at that. If we change the subsearch to return the host name in a different field, we see that the 2 error 404s actually came from host 2, and that host 1 and host 3 had none. This shows how the Appendcols command doesn't align its results with those of the main search, and why it's important to be careful when using Appendcols. Now let's have a look at the append command. Like Appendcols, the append command also runs a subsearch. The difference, however, is the results of the subsearch are tacked on to the end of the existing results. In other words, new rows are added. Here's our employee locations example, this time using the append command. The results look a little odd, and they are, since what we have are 2 separate search results, one after the other. We need to put them together. Since SPL doesn't have a group by command like SPL2 does, we use the stats command to rearrange the results. All we need is a field common to both sets of results, and that will be the location field. Now we have the name, location, and city field values aligned. Things are a little odd still, though. We have more than one value in the name column for the query location. That's not a problem, though. We'll just use mv-expand to give each name its own row. And here we see that the table is not quite in the same format as when we started. But we can easily fix that with a sort, followed by a table command. And now we have the results we're looking for. Each employee name, their work location, and the city of that location. Some of you may be wondering if we couldn't just use the join command to combine these 2 searches. The answer is yes, we could. But we're not here to talk about join. We're here to talk about append and Appendcols. For the curious, here's a query that uses join to accomplish the same task. And here's yet another way to accomplish the same goal. In this example, the OR clause does much the same thing the append command did for us earlier. After all that, you may be wondering when you can use Appendcols at all. Well, Appendcols is an option only when both the main search and the subsearch are known to always return the exact same number of results in the exact same order every time. In this example here, the main search counts the number of entries in the employee's index, and the subsearch returns a count of the number of entries in the locations index. Since both searches return the same number of results in the same order, we can safely use Appendcols. It doesn't have to be 1 and 1. It can be any number as long as it's the same number on both sides and in the same order. When you look at the search reference manual, you'll see there are 3 commands with append in their names. We've talked about 2 of them, Appendcols and append. Now let's talk about the third one, appendpipe. Appendpipe runs a sub-pipeline, not a sub-search, and creates 2 new rows, not just 2, but new rows. That sounds a lot like append, doesn't it? And it kind of is. The difference, however, is the sub-pipeline is not a new search. It's a set of commands that are applied to the current results. And we'll see what that means in a moment. Here's our employee locations query from earlier. This time we're using the appendpipe command to combine the searches. As you can see, the results are just data from the employee table. There's nothing from the locations table. And why is that? It's because AppendPipe is looking for data from the locations index, but the main search only gave it data from the employees index. So the AppendPipe finds nothing, has nothing to append, and so all we're left for is the results from the main search. So in this case, the AppendPipe command does nothing for us. So what is AppendPipe good for? Well, there are two common uses for it: adding subtotals to a table and replacing the no results found message in a report or a dashboard. Let's have a look at each one. Here's another example from the search reference manual. First, a search collects stats about events in the audit index. Then, AppendPipe adds up those stats. As you can see, the AppendPipe command has created a subtotal for each action and added them to the end of the result set. And by sorting on the action field, we can put those subtotals in their expected places. The second use case for AppendPipe is to replace the no results found message. You may have created a great dashboard panel, but it was ruined when the events it was looking for just weren't there. So the panel instead shows this lovely no results found message. Well, AppendPipe can help with that. By adding an AppendPipe command to the query, we can insert values into the table so the panel always has something to display. In this example, the AppendPipe command counts the number of results from the main search. Then it populates some fields, in this case user and count with a capital C. Then the where command displays the sub-pipeline results, but only if the main search had 0 results. And finally, the count field is discarded, leaving us with what you see on the screen there. Note how we use the as clause in the first stats command. This prevented a field name conflict between the main search and the sub-pipeline. So to summarize, the Appendcols command is almost never the answer to a problem because of its limitations. Append is more useful, but it can be replaced by a simple disjunction oftentimes. And finally, the AppendPipe command also has limited application, but it can be useful in certain cases. Thank you, and I hope you found this useful.